All right, in this video, I want to consider crisis and sabotage. Now, I want you to imagine an experienced sailor. Experienced sailors really appreciate the engaging in a battle of wills with the forces of wind, the forces of the tide and the sea, but they recognize that it's generally futile and that it is far more effective to position oneself in relation to these forces so that their natural operations enable to them to achieve their purpose. Now, most leaders believe that if they just have enough will, they can overcome all of the forces that operate against them. And this is true in families, again, all any different system where a leader is present. But at the heart of virtually every deeply disturbed or failing relationship system is a conflict of will. When leaders are experiencing little to no success, it's almost certain that they're swimming against the tide. Now, the key dimension of positioning oneself so that they might take advantage of the forces at work in such a context is to be found in the leader's self differentiation. And just a reminder, self differentiation is the capacity of the leader to be a non anxious presence, a challenging presence, a well defined presence, and a paradoxical presence. Even when leaders have great power invested in them by virtue of their position, their role, whatever, their office, the true strength of a leader is ultimately rooted in the nature of their presence. Now, Friedman goes to great length to contrast poorly differentiated, and well differentiated leadership. Well differentiated leadership focuses on strength rather than pathology. Well differentiated leadership is concerned with its own growth rather than being obsessed with technique. And it works with motivated people rather than symptomatic people. It seeks to mature the system rather than better the condition, and enduring change rather than mere relief of symptoms. Well differentiated leadership avoids the treadmill of trying harder. If I just try harder, if I just work harder. And it focuses instead on its own issues rather than diagnosing others. It's not put off by reactivity. People are going to react, but it recognizes that reactivity and sabotage are evidence of one's effectiveness. I'll say more about that in just a moment. Well differentiated leadership recognizes that problems are generally the symptoms of anxiety rather than the cause. Hear that again. Problems that surface in a relationship system are generally symptoms of anxiety rather than the cause. And so, well differentiated leadership adapts towards strength rather than weakness. Instead of seeking empathy with, quote, helpless victims, it has a challenging approach designed to produce responsibilities in others. And it is more likely to create intimate relationships rather than dependent relationships. So, a well differentiated leader modifies the relationships by which he or she is surrounded through their presence rather than their forcefulness. Now, uh, our full appreciation of this fact really is a conceptual leap from action oriented understanding, which is typically what we hear, and presence oriented understandings. Now, Friedman compares the well differentiated leader to something like a step down reformer, or excuse me, a step down transformer. Um, Electricity will come through a step down transformer, and it takes it and it kind of steps it down, right? Um, as opposed to electricity coming in and kind of blowing it up, or stepping up the electricity. So think of the well defined leader. The anxiety comes in, The well differentiated leader kind of steps down the anxiety and lets it go through them, right? Uh, a poorly differentiated leader, the anxiety, the energy comes in and they get zapped and it kind of, they step it up. That's not, we want to be step down transformers, step down transformers. A step down transformer functions to decrease anxiety levels in such a way that the current goes through without zapping, without fusing you to the rest of the circuit. Friedman says this quote about the transformer. This is not a matter of breaking a circuit. It requires staying in touch without being zapped. Anyone can remain non-anxious if they also try to be non-present. The trick is to be both non-anxious and present simultaneously. So leadership is not an easy task. It can involve the pain of isolation. It can involve the losing of friends, and even the suffering of personal attacks. But crisis can also result in a manner that is precipitated by the leadership of the leader. That is, a well differentiated leader actually will come about, excuse me, crisis in a system will come about by the presence of a well differentiated leader. Such a crisis is not due to failure or incompetence, but to her success at self differentiation. Self differentiation actually triggers reactivity in others who are less differentiated. And the way that leaders respond to this is really a make or break moment. And actually, this is part and parcel of the leadership process itself. Self differentiation always triggers sabotage. Just keep that in mind. Someone who is well differentiated is going to trigger sabotage somewhere in the relationship system. It is in the face of sabotage that leaders are tempted to unwork their differentiation and then adapt to the dysfunctionality of the system again. Sabotage is unavoidable in the process of effective leadership. So if your leadership is being sabotaged, well done. It's part and parcel of the process. It's not easy, but keep on keeping on. It is only after having first brought about a change and then subsequently enduring the resultant sabotage that the leader can feel truly successful. So, just a little bit there on crisis and sabotage. Thank you so much.